I'd like to call the planning commission meeting to order. It's Thursday, September 7th, 2023 at 6:00 p.m. And go around, start with Josh.
Josh Heck, present.
Lane Belter, present.
Shiloh Williamson, present.
Myself, Mike Cappers, present.
Dan Manaz.
Brenda Forrest.
And is Dave Wallner here via Zoom?
Yeah, he's in there.
And Dave Wallner is here via Zoom. Call the public meeting to order.
Do you see that too? I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
So we have a couple people in the audience here. I would like to make a motion to move new business of 7D, discussion possible recommendation, site plan of preferred builders. And E, the discussion of the comprehensive plan by MSA. I'd like to move those, make a motion to move those between after 5, after public comment on agenda items. Is there a second?
Josh Heck, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 2, public hearing subject, a request to rezone parcel 181-4122-00-000 and 181-4143-00-010 from agricultural zoning or A1 district to residential R3 district. And the applicant is DLS Group as the owner.
DSL is Growing Ways. So that's the land where they're gonna build on now. So they have the appropriate zoning.
So, and are we just doing looking at rezoning the chunk that they're going to be on?
That's 6 acres.
That's 6 acres that they're taking. Anything else you can want to add to that, or
No.
any discussion on that, or somebody want to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're
This
not
is
in
just
that
public
area.
Do
hearing.
that at the next one.
Oh,
That's-
that's
that's
lower on the
public
agenda.
hearing subject. Okay.
We're in a hurry.
Yeah. Is there anybody here that wants to discuss it? Doesn't look like it. Okay, close public hearing, call the regular meeting to order. Public comment on agenda items, 2 minutes per person and 14 minutes per topic. Going once, going twice. Can review the minutes of August 3rd meeting. Bob, while we're looking at that, did we ever get the people that were looking at that sports complex? Did we ever get them in touch with Peter Johns, or was that?
I have the meeting tonight,
Okay,
so he was trying to meet with Peter this evening. Otherwise,
I
it's gonna
couldn't
be.
remember if that was something I was supposed to set up or something you were setting up.
No, yeah, it's being handled.
So, thank you.
Yep.
Josh Heck, like make a motion to accept the regular meetings from August 3rd.
Williamson, I'll second.
Discussion? First and second, hearing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Carries. We could go up to the new business and go to 7D, discussion possible recommendation for the site plan for preferred builders. If you wanna come up here, state your name and address and.
Right, so we're at 494 LaGranger Road, Somerset.
What can you tell us about your?
Basically, we like to propose a storage building, pretty much identical to the existing building currently, same colors, same structure, same materials. The difference would be we would not have the office in front, so it'd purely be storage. The first 40 feet or so, would be, approximately 40 feet would be insulated. Currently not having any, gas or, well, Rocklands will be brought to the buildings, but it will not have any plumbing or, gas to the unit or heating at the moment. The remaining of the building will just be cold storage. It'll have garage door on the front and rear and rear on the side. The fencing will continue around the outside just as it is now, just farther back. And we plan to, right now, this last year, we stored a bunch of heavy equipment outside, and we just like to have it inside this year. Well, I know we're gonna do this year, but we like to have it inside.
So what it looks like, it's, the building will be built on your current property within the fence line that you
Yep.
currently have.
Well, the fence line is gonna be pushed slightly towards on our property, but closer to that retaining pond there.
Oh, okay.
The fence will move back with it. Our existing asphalt yard will stay. There's currently gravel, which will be turned into the poured concrete flooring in the building.
Okay.
And it has gone through the state, it has received the state's approval, and it also received the engineer's approval, which they sent over this morning.
Great.
So this eliminates all of the large machines parked outside and the boat that's parked outside and things like that?
Not all of them, obviously that area on the asphalt will remove everything from there and put it inside. The property does continue on the other side, there's a hill there, and there are some vehicles parked on the backside there.
Yeah.
So those will probably at some point stay there, but the majority of them, there's no room for park, so they'll have to go inside.
Is the vehicle on the hillside, are those vehicles that are there, I think there's a pickup and a
On
street
the-
sweeper or something?
There's a paver, there is a street sweeper back there,
Which ones are which one would be the licensed and not equipment?
the equipment that we're currently being used on different job sites at the moment would be the ones stored inside. The ones on the back, I can't say what their determination is gonna be.
The reason I'm asking is I'd like to see that stuff cleaned up, if you got rid of. We do have an ordinance that if your vehicle is not licensed, it can't be stored on your property.
Okay.
So I would just like to see the things that are not related to, you're always gonna have something, piece of equipment, and then not all the equipment's gonna get inside. I understand that.
Yeah.
But if the majority did, and you got rid of the equipment, my opinion, that's not related to the business, that's what I would like to see. That's kind of clean your site.
As the vast majority was stored on that gravel, so at putting the building there, the only storage we would have would be inside, so it is gonna take up the majority of
Sure.
the equipment.
So then the remaining rough prairie area that it looks like that's gonna be built out onto, right?
Along LaGranger where the retaining pond is,
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so at best, that could be called a rough prairie. Will what's left behind after the new building gets added on be niced up a little bit?
currently isn't planned for other than the retaining wall. Obviously, there can be some discussion of that, but the current site plan does not include that.
You do have a landscaping plan that was submitted. It's toward the back and, you know, they're talking about planting a number of trees.
Okay.
So there's bear with me, I'm blind. 10 balsam firs and 10 Black Hill spruces scattered kind of along the front of the new parking lot, along the side of the building, along that retaining wall. And then on the rear.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That answers the question. That would just help break it up a lot, because as it sits right now, it's, yeah, not good. This would really help.
The landscape in front of the building, but the side has not been changed at all.
All right.
So, kind of off topic, but it's the property where the HHRH or whatever.
Correct.
Construction, so do they own the property or?
No, it's run by Preferred Builders. And they, that along with Citywide and Preferred Property Management operate out of the building along with HRHH. Preferred Builders does not operate as a builder since April 1 of last year.
Okay, but the company owns the property and,
HRHH is owned completely separate from Preferred or Citywide or Preferred Property Management. There's no, We work together and we have assets together, but the companies are completely separate as long as we work together.
Still a little confused on it, but I
But preferred owns the property.
prefer to own the
Yes,
property.
prefer to own the
correct.
Preferred is building the building and then
Correct, Ferd is full, yeah.
leases the other building or something.
Lease the space out, yeah. Yep, we pay, there's rent paid to different people for different space.
Okay, gotcha. And I don't think it's just your eyes that are bad, Chuck, this.
And that is, I can't,
Possible.
I'm old too.
I do have larger ones copies with me if there are any.
That's tiny.
Oh, wait, I can read Word.
Tasia, do you have the full-size copies or they probably?
I don't-
14s?
I don't have full-size copies.
They were submitted PDF.
Yeah, it was,
Okay,
yeah.
I do have them now. Anybody have any other questions?
So would there be any conditions put on approving this? Like you say, Dan, cleaning it up, or just going on with it all? Will be done?
Which isn't a good idea.
No, not at all.
It's just,
Do you have conditions in mind?
I was just listening about what they were going to do, but
Yeah.
sometimes,
to me, any vehicle that is not licensed shouldn't be on the property. Now, if you've got a dump truck that you're putting a motor in, and it's gonna take you 6 months, you're probably not gonna license it. I mean, there's some leeway there as far as I'm concerned, but, you know, there's a pickup that's been out back for a couple of years, and I'm assuming it's not licensed.
150, yeah,
And to me, it just needs to go.
I can never take that.
So I mean, that's my only issue.
And that's not really part of this, though, that's just.
Yeah, but it's-
But it's an example of
But it is.
bending of the rules that
Yeah.
breaks them.
No,
Kind of a thing that we
Yeah.
wanna avoid is, I mean, like you just said,
getting cluttered.
yeah, we can bend the rules, cause sometimes that makes sense. But bending that kind of a rule for 2 years, that's breaking the rule, that's violating the rule.
So that's, the aesthetics are important to us too.
So Brenda, good question. I personally don't have any conditions that I can think of that are outside of what we've been talking about. But I don't really have a firm grasp on just what this is going to change from what is to what will be. So I don't have a vision of what problems might rise.
it's real vague, it's just.
Yeah, that when it's all done, we're like, are you kidding me? Cause like, the
Yeah.
original one, when it got all done, and we looked and saw all the things parked there and said, are you kidding me? And I thought originally it was supposed to have a 10-foot fence or a very high fence that had the slats in that prohibited being able to see through. And now my wife and I just went by there again today, and the cyclone fence has slats in it, but they're practically transparent. I mean, they don't hide a thing. You can see through them as if it's just regular cyclone fence.
I thought we said something about fences and didn't we?
The last one, we changed how we did it. We didn't want slats, but a few years ago we did.
But
I've been saying this for years, that we can sit here and put all the conditions on we want, but there's nobody in the village that goes back and make sure it's being done.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying where there's nobody there to do it.
right,
I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's anybody should be doing it, or it's, you know, I'm not trying to have anybody's.
There is a letter this morning, based from the city engineer saying that it met the approval for the fencing and the slats. That said, there is a discussion that was had as far as when we're doing the building, that we could end the building and have the fencing come at each corner, so literally the building would be the side of instead of a fence there would just be the building. Nothing would be parked on that side of it.
I think that's a far better option,
Way better.
because, like I said, I mean, I don't have the vision right now of what problems will arise. But like on this piece of property, the last time, and we said cyclone fencing, this high slats that you can't see through, we'll get all done, and it's like, might as well just stay cyclone. So there's a history of bending the rules with this property that makes us kind of suspicious. How is this gonna look when you're done? We're kind of wondering, this looks beautiful, but so did the last one.
Yeah, and then the last one had 3 doors on either side, which allowed us to have equipment on the back side is what we're referring to. This one only has the doors on the inside, So if we had the fencing going to the building and just, you would just get the red side of the building and not see any equipment.
I think that's superior, because the building itself that you guys have there, that building, I think is gorgeous.
I
I
agree.
love that building.
I agree.
Yeah, just to be clear on my comments, I just pointed out in my memo that the existing 6-foot chain link fence on the north side of the building is being replaced or relocated with privacy slats to match existing. The village should review with the developer to ensure adequate screening is being provided, which is what you're doing right now. So it's basically an adjustment of what's there existing, but it's a continuation of, what's there existing.
Can we get Brian a copy of the conditional use of the
Previous?
previous? So he can see what it says. We don't have it in front of us either, so we're trying to remember 2 or 3 years ago, but.
And can that you said, so the privacy slats, because that's my main thing as I look at that property. So the privacy slats, do we have to have this be to match the existing, or can we change that to say improve slats that aren't see-through? That actually work the purpose of what I always pictured a slat being, not allowing you to see through the cyclone fence. Can we change that, or is that too late?
Well, I guess without the benefit of having that conditional use permit in front of us.
Right.
You could maybe make it recommendation approval, condition upon that all the CUP, conditions are currently being met.
Right.
And then at least that would give you the board some time to take a quick peek at that, or, maybe add some conditions.
Ryan, would you be
Next-
good with
next Tuesday.
opaque slats being put?
Yeah, I'm gonna look into it, and obviously I'm not the final decision, but I can bring back to Andrew and see what he says about it.
And if nothing else, when you go back to talk, certainly say that there is a feeling amongst the planning commission that we're apprehensive about saying yes to things with preferred builders, because it just hasn't always been answered to the letter of what we, I think, intended. It's been bent to a point that is not acceptable.
Every time.
Okay.
So we can put that in as a condition.
So yes,
Like every time though, every time.
yeah, letter of the law gets met, but in everybody's mind, they know that that's not the intention.
And again, if the council's okay with just having that entire building wall as the side of the fence, that
I like,
there isn't much use in storing back there. We don't have any garage doors, so that was definitely something talked about when we looked over the site plan, so.
And then what
Something
happens
that we'd be open to,
in between those buildings, we
Yeah.
couldn't even care less, because
Can't
it's
see it.
all blocked.
correct.
That's a much better plan, I think.
And I like the idea of the trees. Even
oh,
if-
that
even if
has to
there's-
be,
Even if there's not slats in there,
there's some.
trees are gonna
Well, yeah, and
block a lot of it.
And so the current landscaping that is there that just looks ratty. You put some trees amongst a ratty area and it just helps. So yeah, that already is a beautiful plan.
So here's the conditions that exist currently that they agreed to. Number 1, install and maintain a decorative 6-foot high with concealment slats around the entire outside storage area. 6-foot high fence should be in here. Storage must be screened completely from view. 2, evergreen trees planted minimum height 4 feet with a berm along the fence that is near the path. 3, all outside storage of materials adjacent to commercial or residential must be contained in the fence area with stored material not to exceed fence height. 4, no storage of hazardous materials. 5, must comply with all local, state, and federal laws.
So
Those are
Wait, can you read
conditions.
one more time?
there are no more, there are no trees up there that I can
Yeah.
remember. The concealment, I mean, that word alone
What level
implies
of
you
concealment?
can't see, but it was even stated that you can't see.
I
Yeah.
think if we pass this tonight, we just simply have to say,
They have to meet
we have to
that.
abide and make sure we get them a copy of it and make sure we they abide
But
and
the
correct the things that are.
The thing that sounds unreasonable there is having a 6-foot fence and anything parked on the other side can't exceed that height. Well, you're not gonna find a piece of working equipment that doesn't exceed 6 foot, so,
But you're gonna have 14 feet if you got a big enough excavator, so I mean,
yeah, so,
I'm okay with a 6-foot fence. It's an industrial park, it's equipment.
yes, and And so I'd like us to change that to be more, considerate to them. I mean, if they've got a 14-foot excavator parked behind a 6-foot fence, I don't have a problem with that. That seems like
That's above
a
height.
thing you expect from a
Yeah.
place like this.
That's similar to Zach in North Hudson. You drive by, they're fenced in and you can see pretty cool,
Yeah.
plain as day, so it's.
Brian, is there currently a 6-foot fence there? Is it 6
Yes.
foot?
Yeah.
There's all
Six foot, so- And so if we made it a condition to,
So they abide by,
abide by
The
the
previous-
previous.
whatever hasn't been done is done next.
That is the site plan currently, and there are the option changes slightly, but that is the current plan to keep it existing, move it back to their side of the building.
So concealment was used on a leeway scale, you know, because he used the cyclone fencing, so they just took that as concealment. I guess you have to be more
If we
specific.
double up, and put it as part of
Oh, I know.
our
I know.
recommendation, or part of this one as well.
You gotta add it, you can't see.
Yeah,
I'd be okay with that, just
So our,
refer to the previous conditions
yes,
to be,
Of
to be
concealment.
following up.
but actually concealed, because it was asked to be concealed and they used a cyclone fence, so that there was a misconception. So concealment is 100% concealment, not 80%.
And really, we have since then have had other people that have fenced in areas that we don't make them put concealment in. So we've done
we've done both.
both.
But this particular one,
This
stated
particular-
in the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody wanna make a motion?
I make a motion to recommend approval of the preferred builder's request with the condition that the previous conditional use permits be looked over and met all the conditions of fencing and landscaping that the previous CUP get met as it was intended. Does that address everything we talked?
Yeah.
The other thing is the fence coming to the corner of the building.
Oh, yeah, and with the understanding that the plan presented will be modified somewhat because the building will be moved a bit, so that the building is part of the fenced area.
The building will stay part of the site plan, just the fences will come to the corner of the building instead of going around it on the
Okay.
grander side.
That's covered in the plans, right?
Well, currently it goes around, and there's about a 12-foot space behind the
There's that
building on the
12.
backside without any garage doors. And, that was, they originally had some idea to keep that space open, so it could be used to go around the building for whatever need, but we then discussed bringing the fence directly to the building and having the backside of the building just be flush with the,
What about the berm that we had, that Bob had read off? Is there a berm there now?
the berm.
There,
That was part of the original conditional use.
the berm that was gonna kind of
4-foot berm.
hide the
4 foot trees.
fencing even, berm and trees,
So I'm not aware of that,
it's not there.
apologize, I didn't look into it.
And we have had other places plant the trees on top of the berm, haven't we?
Mhm.
So that can be, you don't have to have a berm and a tree, you could.
Right,
Does it clearly say where it's supposed to be? Is there supposed to be, which part of the property it's supposed to be on?
I would assume outside the fence, certainly not.
Yeah, but on the grander side or around the
Along
building there by the
fence that is-
sidewalk or?
Along the fence that is near the path.
Near the path is what it said, yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to look at that, because right now there's a retaining wall, and I don't know if there's any room for a berm as far as the grading, so I guess that we'd have to. There's that sidewalk there and the building is going out, so I would have to look into that, and
Yeah, like, I'm not
that's something
quite sure how
outside of my
you do it.
knowledge.
I don't know if you could. Alright.
The whole purpose of all of this, though, is so that when the people are using the path, they're not looking at something that's distasteful. They're looking at something where somebody says, wow, what a respectful property. They did a nice job of making this path look beautiful. Right now, what we have there is the opposite of that.
And I think that if we do the new building with the same conditions of the other, that'll be, most of the equipment, everything will be contained in between the two buildings, it'll be much harder to see.
Right. And the building would provide a much better.
We can do trees, the berm, I don't, first time I've heard about that part, so that I need to discuss that with our site engineer.
Well, I wonder if you need the retaining wall if you do a berm instead.
Well, if we pulled, the discussion with them was if we pulled the fence back and we didn't have flat ground, the grading wouldn't even require a retaining wall.
But I,
Just because they wanted that 12 feet of flat for the fence, so if we get rid of that and just grade it gently, it would be a natural grade now.
I think we need to stick the original condition CUP and look and see if you can make up.
Yeah, I'll look into that and find it and see.
Yep.
See what's going on.
I can't imagine because the fences,
Can you print from there, Bob?
the fences at.
Print? Yeah, so you can have a copy of that.
And use it.
I just sent it to him.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
There is some
Let me just say
stormwater in
that.
that front parking lot that discharges to that pond. So there is a swale that goes through that area towards
Everything
the,
on there?
towards the sidewalk.
you guys just look at it too. Looks so bad.
So
This is the old CUP.
Oh, okay, we're looking at a picture of it.
if we put, say, approve with conditions,
And we're just simply holding their feet to the fire and saying
Right.
what we just
but
said
going
back in
forward,
2019 needs to go forward and these things need to be corrected.
Yep.
And I don't think we're opposed to a building, a storage building.
but the follow-up, like, we,
Yeah.
apparently we went 2 years without
Without doing any,
doing what they were supposed to do, and now 2 years later, we're gonna approve something new and assume they're gonna do what they're,
But we
Supposed
don't check up on anything.
That goes to the
That
building
goes to-
inspector.
Yes,
so,
well, it does, but does it get done? We never hear
I
again.
mean, we're looking at somebody that 2 years later didn't do what they were supposed to do 2
Before,
years ago.
and
So are we gonna be in this position when they
Right.
come back?
Well,
next
can-
time?
I mean,
can
they're
it-
saying, okay, I'm gonna do this, this,
Before
and
the
this.
building,
yeah.
before the building
And they did.
inspector signs off on the final, does he do the CUP does he go through the CUP also? To make sure that the berm is done and the trees are done? Obviously it didn't
I'm not
happen.
positive.
Okay.
And he didn't even know about the
Can a
berm,
C-
so what is that?
Tony's online.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just joined the company in,
I was gonna say, I don't think Brian was around 2009.
Yeah.
So,
but as you can tell, there've been problems. Can a CUP be written with some bite that if within a month of final completion of the building and everything, if all the conditions haven't been met, they can be required to tear the building down
Or be fined,
or be fined or something. I mean, can we put some serious bite into the CUP?
You can ask for some escrow, probably is the best. Probably deserves an attorney question.
Yeah, that's my only concern is that,
And they should at this point have to have something to ask for, I mean, come on,
So do we table this then for a bit?
yeah.
To try to get our lawyer on board to make sure that before we do agree to this, we have some confirmation from Preferred Builders that they're going to rectify all the things that have been, you know,
not,
taken advantage of in the past before moving forward, giving them more opportunity to take advantage of it.
Well,
Yeah.
what I think you want is a plan you could point to that you're saying, you know, okay, we're happy with this. So, you know, there's no confusion down the line if it was built to what. And so if you're wanting to see something in addition to this landscaping plan, you know, their plan should be revised to show that. Or at least have an approvable plan that, you know, your consultant or your staff.
But I don't think we want something in
You
addition.
just want
necessarily.
accountability.
We,
Yeah.
the previous, as you read the previous CUP, that's what, I mean, I remember saying that is, yeah, we want fencing, we want concealment that actually conceals, we want a berm that hides it, we want to, I mean, but none of that has been
But
met.
if you don't have a plan that shows the berm, then what's your definition of a berm will be different than his definition of.
Okay,
I think we should table it too and have we have them come back with a plan,
go back,
the
talk
berm
to
in
the
place.
staff and.
make sure it's gonna fit.
I agree.
Yeah. I'm with that.
And,
And just so we're clear,
and the
you
fence,
want that, you know, cause right now there's trees and there's a retaining wall and, you know, they're along that side of that building. You want, in addition to that, well, you said it's possible that retaining wall may go away.
That's, our site engineer said that if they could do just a general grade, if they don't have that 12 feet of flat between the building and the fence, there shouldn't be an issue with the grading requiring a retaining wall.
So I think between the maybe, maybe not grading, you know, retaining wall, berm, you know, maybe it's a site visit with, you know, us or what have you, and then just kind of go over what we would find acceptable and then present it to you guys.
Yeah,
Yes.
that sounds good.
And then we can, then the fence can come to the corners of the buildings, like, we can see that on a.
On a different plan.
Drawing.
on a
Yeah, we
different-
would edit that, we would update that.
Sure.
Yeah, we should.
So this is Tony, the building inspector.
Yeah,
How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Typically, we just get a conditional use permit. We don't see what you guys require them to do on it. It's just a conditional use permit that says you guys allowed it.
So what's
And we
the
just do the
follow-up?
building. Most of the stuff is landscaping, which we don't have anything to do. We're just building inspectors. If you guys want us to hold up the occupancy until they met the conditional use permit, we need a copy of the full conditional use permit then.
So you're saying the conditional use permit that you look at doesn't have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever details that we wrote, it just says CUP?
Yeah, that you guys approved it.
Okay,
Without the details.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, so
So
when
you couldn't.
when you come
inspect it.
through, yeah, we would have to make sure that you have that detailed conditional use permit.
Correct. And we can hold up the occupancy until they met all them requirements.
Yeah.
If that's what the board, if that's what the board wants us to do.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that would be something I would consider bite. Yeah, that's good.
Because how many other CUPs are out there not
yeah,
right because no one.
Okay,
I
thank
just
you.
think of Lincoln too, this is okay, yeah,
Somebody like to make a new motion?
Lane.
Are we tabling it or are we gonna just move forward with what we just said?
Make a motion to table
I make a motion to table it until,
I'll second that.
We have a better
No.
landscape plan.
Do you have to rescind your motion, or was it seconded? I don't.
It wasn't.
it was
seconded.
not seconded.
it. Motion died.
So now I make a motion to table it to next month.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And do you understand kind of?
No, I
what-
understand, yeah.
Brian, will that give you enough time for next month to come back and have everything?
We'll do what we need to, and we'll get a new plan to you and get it dropped off, 15 days or whatever to have it over to you, so.
And then even if you can, include something, how the, opaque, for privacy fencing, flat fencing.
I think we'll definitely move the fencing to that part of the building, so that should remove that as an issue.
Okay, even just like a picture of what it's gonna look like or something like that would be.
But we'll have to discuss it, because that front and back, I would assume we would try to just get the existing to stay. Just the front and the back, and the building would take over the large portion of the fencing, if that's acceptable.
And then when you're ready for that, you'll reach out to Bob and Chuck to
Absolutely.
get all our ducks in a row.
And the first CUP, whatever it has to be.
Well, he's got a copy.
Update them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so now,
He'll keep that in mind.
and it might change with the new building going in, that could,
I could see portions, but if we're still talking, it's supposed to be private or.
correct.
Pretty much everything that's not being done with the CUP has to do with the landscape plan,
Yes.
so.
Right.
It's just a matter of that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Discussion for the comprehensive plan review.
Okay,
Yep,
sorry.
that is-
Presentation like I did last time, just so you have stuff.
This is what's already in your packets, just a PowerPoint for it, a little pinned down.
A lot of information.
all this stuff on the screen.
I don't have that. I have,
Do you have the draft?
I
Yeah,
have
and
this one.
that's
Okay.
fine. It's essentially the same thing, just pulled into a PowerPoint for those online.
Good. I'm guessing, Deja, unless you put it on the screen here, people when they watch it on the YouTube, it won't be.
Yep, I'll share my screen and then pull it up.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So tonight, the two categories that we're reviewing are the utilities and community facilities, and then the land use. The utilities and community facilities is relatively sweet and simple. Goal one is the village of Somerset will have high quality, cost effective, well planned, and efficient system of public utilities the policies here are really just to maintain and improve the existing infrastructure to ensure adequate capacity as well as, make sure that it can accommodate new service areas as the village grows. And with that growth and maintaining good quality facilities, we want to ensure that developers are sharing that cost as they're building out to keep the services low for community members, whether it's from whack and tack fees, things like that. We also want to make sure that we're avoiding environmentally sensitive areas as we're planning location of the utilities. And we're discouraging inefficient leapfrog development, making sure that the utility expansion planning makes sense with your other land use and goals. So how do we implement this? The actions are really just regular inspections and maintenance of the existing utilities, for keeping residents informed with information on the city's website for different other available incentives from energy companies, recycling, things like that. And maintaining your 5-year capital improvements plan and make sure that that's getting annually reviewed and updating that as new developments, new growth come into the village. Goal number 2, I think the next page, yep, thank you, is it's a typoed on your PowerPoint, but goal number 2, high quality community facilities for residents, businesses and visitors alike. Now, I think here the community facilities isn't necessarily utility and infrastructure like that first goal. These are more geared towards your parks facilities, I guess still a little bit of utilities, but mostly, you know, maintaining and developing parks that meet a wide range of recreational needs. And supporting also having village support for those private entities that are gonna benefit your youth, your elderly, those special populations that, you know, they all want a place we need a place to gather, need a place to hang out. And so aside from the existing village facilities, making sure that those stakeholder meetings are happening with the school district and any other private local group that's, you know, interested in collaboration. And with the parks facilities, making sure that I think your comprehensive outdoor recreation plan is up in 2023. And to have that up to date, you're eligible for a lot more Wisconsin DNR funding and other state funding for those facilities. So that's what I have for utilities and community facilities. If anybody has anything they want to add or ask? Otherwise, we can keep flying through and go to land use, which is the fun part, the backbone to the plan. Your truly guiding document. As we all know, land use is not your zoning. It's not legally bound. It is more of a guidance document. Really only comes to play when your future land use really only comes to play when new development comes in. I have the maps here and then we'll look at those later, but I don't want anybody to totally like see something that might be different and freak out because that's not a zoning change. It's not implemented that way. The first land use goal is to create a sustainable development pattern. This ties in again with those utility and infrastructure expansion. It's really just efficient use of those public services, coordinated with your CIP process and utilizing infill development for that's already using your existing infrastructure, particularly in your commercial areas. And with that, really utilizing a mix of different development types and at edges of neighborhoods, downtown areas, major roadway intersections, as well as within your neighborhoods, promoting a balance of housing types so that it can really, again, we want to encourage neighborhoods that are friendly to not just families, but all types aging in place. St. Croix County's elderly population is like one of the highest in the state. So we want to make sure that everybody has a place that they can retire in and live in. And with that, some of those actions are really just continuing your extraterritorial plat and plan review that you guys are already doing as a commission to make sure that any future annexation and development is in line with your future growth plans and policies. So Goal number 2, I already kind of touched on this with establishing balanced neighborhoods throughout the village, but we really wanted to pull this one out to ensure that, you know, we're working towards providing a mix of housing type, using the planning and zoning process to review and encourage design for land use compatibility, and enforce property maintenance codes to maintain neighborhood quality and prevent blight. So again, implementation from that is a review of your existing ordinances, maybe, I think one of the recommendations we had was strengthening your landscaping, signage, lighting, and building design standards in the current ordinance. I know that it's like, oh, we can make all these updates to our code, but who's gonna enforce it? As, I mean, they're not the only community that's struggling with that currently. I think it's come up in the past, like 4 planning commission meetings I've been in. But it also, even if it's not in your code, it can also be implemented in policy through the planning commission within your review processes or on your land use applications. You can have those required on that application without it being required in the code. Many communities do that as well. So, I don't have that in here as an action, but I certainly could add that, but, yeah, that's what I have for goals 1 and 2, and then the third and final land use goal is create places that are vibrant, attractive, and unique, especially along the village's Main Street and the Wisconsin 35 corridors. So, policies here are really just focusing on fostering development in the downtown area as a mixed-use district, encouraging shopping, employment, housing, community gathering opportunities, and really discouraging that more commercial strip type development, and kind of focusing again on that mix of building types and businesses within those design standards that we kind of talked about in those other goals. And again, encouraging that infill development of vacant or underutilized buildings and land. So those are our 3 goals with those policies underneath. Does anybody have any comments or questions on those? And I'm flying through these, but I know you guys
Great.
like that.
Doing great.
Anytime I think about this one, I always think about, I think it was Siren when the tornado went through all those years back.
Mhm.
And when they rebuilt, that Main Street is just gorgeous. I mean, they
Yeah.
have a very
Yeah.
solid theme that you see going through there. And you drive through there and you think, oh my goodness, this town's got their act together.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always thought. I mean, we've been talking about this for 30 years. That's what we've always said, that we kind of need, and I thought way back, we put together something, apparently we talked about putting together something, didn't do it, that would give some type of grant or help, just the storefronts that are currently existing, and encourage them to come up with some type of a Siren-like matching look, so that when people drive through Somerset, they're have the same attitude. This place really got their act together.
Right,
Yeah, we have a facade program, that
Yeah.
might be what you're referring to,
Yeah,
that's current,
that is current.
Yeah.
And
it's a low interest rate loan.
it's a low interest.
I think he's asking for a tornado.
Yeah, that's not the way we want to go about it. Not the way.
May not be the first time I heard that.
So
Oh my God.
we did actually put something that in, but the interest in following that plan isn't there. And do we have any kind of economic incentive that would make them want to follow that plan or anything like that?
Our scheduled tornado.
That's
Or-
basically the incentive is that program,
Okay.
So there's low interest loans.
a low interest loan, and that's.
Oh, when you said low interest, I thought they're not interested in it.
Okay. Low interest rate.
All right,
There's
low
zero
rate.
interest right now.
Okay.
So you want high interest?
Yeah, I want very high interest. Okay, I get it.
I know he answered you 3 times.
But still, has anybody bid on taking a low interest loan to
Yeah.
get a uniform look through downtown?
Yeah, there has been,
Okay.
B&J,
And they tried it, but they were denied.
they were, okay.
Um,
And we don't service that, that comes through the regional planning commission. They review the applications, they hold on to the money. So it does kind of go, we got a Main Street Loan Program, committee.
Yeah.
They're the original people that go to first, then if it passes through them, then it goes to the regional loan, committee.
that sounds good, cause I mean, basically the way you'd said it, without a wipeout, you can't get, I mean, it's a slow process to get that
And we do have a
happening.
library there now, which
Yeah,
looks fantastic, and
Yeah.
hopefully any other buildings that came in
would match, would do what they can to kind of, okay, so yeah. We have in place what we need in place. And now it's just a matter of being patient and waiting for the company to be built and the
At
people
the,
to do
at
it.
the village board level, we've talked about like Hudson and downtown Stillwater and some other places, they don't want chains downtown, chain restaurants and stores downtown, they want to keep it kind of authentic.
We've done that, that's beautiful.
Well, I think we're still working, the attorney's still working on getting the ordinances that they have for us to review.
Okay, then yeah, thank you, we're
No, that's great,
where
because,
we wanna be.
So, and if you look at it downtown, it's fragmented
yeah,
pretty severely.
Yes.
And the village had some opportunities back when, the housing crisis went through to buy some properties that, they could have tried to redevelop, never did. So, we're kind of stuck with, you get the Pizza Planet,
There's no.
residential, hair salon, and on the other side, virtually the same.
Which, if it was just like, here's the mall, or like a mall.
So with the way that we have
Pizza,
our,
Get your haircut.
yeah, with the way we have our properties, we just have to be patient and little by little, one by one, a little bit more matching will probably occur.
yeah, no, but that's actually a really good segue, because in the future land use plan, we define each of the districts and the maps here, and I do have like big printed out ones for each of you if you wanna, so we can actually see all the parcels. I have one with the rural area too.
That would probably just not the village ones if I had to guess.
Well, village still own that dirt.
Yeah, so I think the area in this dark gray or black is what we have guided as downtown mixed use. There is a small yellow hatch overlay, which is high intensity residential. And the category definition, I can read it out loud, is downtown mixed use represents the entirety of downtown Somerset and accommodates a wide variety of employment, service, retail, government, entertainment, and residential uses, mostly in multi-story buildings, which 2 stories. The general intent of the DMU area is to preserve the architectural character while providing opportunities to increase activity and density. The core blocks fronting on Main Street should continue to maintain buildings with their front facades built to the edge of the public sidewalk. And then there's a whole bunch of subcategories, with, building heights recommending building heights ranging from 2 to 4 stories. New development adjacent to lower density along side streets shouldn't be taller than 3. First floor retail, service, office, destination businesses. And encourage site planning that's pedestrian friendly, provide sidewalk and interior pedestrian circulation. There's not a ton, we don't have anything mentioning some of the beautification that you've said, and we certainly could add that in. I mean, this is all draft form, so would love to scratch this up and change anything, or if there are parcels that you think should be the downtown mixed use that aren't currently, this is a great time to, we can start there and then talk about some of the other categories. Or we can talk about everything, doesn't matter. But I certainly will make a note of the beautification, and facade requirements or updating or.
When we did that way back in the day, when we did that way back in the day, when we came up with the thought and plan, did we list any ideas it had to be for future buildings so that everybody has to be brick or everybody has to be log or nothing like that?
We have some definitions in our zoning. We have some building exterior, so our commercial has some definitions of what's allowed and what's not allowed.
But specific to getting a uniform look as best as possible, or does it not really eat toward that?
The future land use,
Yeah, I guess it'd be future land use, because but most of what I'm thinking are new buildings coming up along Main Street, because if all the new buildings coming up along Main Street had a uniform look, that would kind of prompt other ones when they needed to remodel to try to match that.
that would go into our ordinance or our code.
Yeah.
To say downtown business district must have these features.
25% brick
I
or
usually
whatever it
say
is.
Yeah,
percentages,
right.
those codes that I work in, it's a percentage and it's different by district. So some will have their general commercial a little more lenient or that, yeah, okay, you can have a pole barn style exposed fastener, but you cannot have that in this downtown area, so by district, by percentage, that lists maybe your preferable materials, but I've seen very rarely where it's brick only. Or
Right.
it's usually, yeah, but a high quality building material not allowed, metal buildings are not allowed or something like that, so.
My happy place is a good example. Pole shed style building with a facade.
With the
That's
facade.
very
right.
attractive.
Yeah,
But a
That's-
lot of the buildings are old, Sportsman's been there forever, and you painted, but it's not.
Right, and I wouldn't wanna have to ever put anything in place that would then force sportsmen to change their one, because no, they're there, they're established, they're good.
Grandfather.
And so it would only be more incentive that as new buildings go up and have a uniform look of, 25% this or definitely not this,
Mhm.
that would encourage others
Makes total.
to fall in line. So if Ed said, well, I gotta update my exterior. You'd
And
say,
our professional district has, building standards
yeah,
as well. So the medical clinic, the food pantry had to
Oh, yeah.
get creative because they had some standards they had to follow.
okay. But we never put anything in writing for downtown, because, we're still talking about the Main Street attractive as you drive through look.
Right.
We don't have,
I'd have to go and research it a little bit. I know we have some things, but I don't know that I think it's very, very flexible.
okay, but yeah, that would be as moving forward,
yeah,
some type of,
I could add, like
If-
number
yeah.
6, encourage new development in the downtown mixed use to utilize high quality building materials and something, I can wordsmith it a little bit, but
yeah,
we can make it, because the comp plan is the guidance document, so we can make it work to guide that without it being codified in the code.
yes,
Encourage.
yes,
Encourage uniform.
guidelines,
Yeah.
encouragement, something like that.
Right,
Without
uniform look,
demanding, you must
encouraging.
make your building look like this. 'Cause,
yeah,
if you've got an ice
We
cream shop, you
strongly
might not want
encourage
to.
right,
a nice uniform to look, please, thank you.
please.
Please and thank you.
So I wanted to point under, land use goal number 2, action C2, it talks about review and strengthen landscaping, signage, lighting and building design standards
Yeah.
in the village's ordinances, considering the standards outlined in the site plan today. So it is in the action right now,
Okay.
but could it be bolstered?
Into the
That's what
downtown.
Claire could do.
Yeah,
Yes.
we for sure can bolster it specific to this category too, in the definition.
Yeah, strongly encourage.
That's the- that's the-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
There is anything defined in that district.
And it'd be nice, I think, if we had something defined, but with a guideline, with an encouragement, not with a dictatorship type demand.
The library, something
To follow, yeah.
Right,
So-
yeah, it's a beautiful.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Yep.
It
Yeah,
could be written just like that, model after the library to
We
whatever.
strongly
it says.
encourage you to look just like our
We
library.
want- We want to roll
Thank you.
libraries.
Yeah, we do. Great.
So anyway, yeah, I don't know how to word it, that's just not my expertise at
We can
all.
grab some ordinance language from other communities.
oh, certainly, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm done.
look at Sirens, if you like Sirens, look at their codes, see what
Oh,
they
yeah.
required in their downtown, I mean, really, that's what I do with my community
Log
codes.
Well, I set up like,
been done.
I mean, I'm around
There,
there,
yeah.
yeah, you know,
Mhm.
just
So-
one long.
Apple River.
Great, that's
Mm.
wonderful. The only other things that I wanted to point out on this map that really, this is all very similar to last update in 2018, but we did change. We added a new category of recreational commercial, which is that salmon color. For the amphitheater as well as the river. We just felt that it would be better that it was broken out because it's a little more of a specific type of use in those areas than your general commercial. And then, yeah, not to be confused with the pink on the interchange area, which is general mixed use, used to be labeled interchange mixed use. It's still representing essentially the same thing. We just felt that general mixed use or could kind of support a mix of commercial, residential, maybe even civic uses, serving visitors as well as the surrounding area, since it is kind of along your main highway corridors there. And rather than have industrial broken out, we just kept it as business park because we didn't find that the code really allowed for any super heavy industrial uses. It's mostly light industrial and then your typical business park. And so we thought for simplicity, keep it as one category with the purple there kind of on the northern side. And I think those were kind of the pinpoints or changes that we wanted to point out.
So Claire,
Yeah,
so the salmon colored on the east side
yep,
of the river is Apple River Family Campground.
yep, and the amphitheater, I think.
Well, no, that's on the,
On the other.
that's on the
side.
west
They're
side,
not-
the east side there.
Oh, okay.
You know, I don't know, do you happen to recall was that guided towards neighborhood residential last time?
And the old one? I was just looking at it today. Don't remember.
Were you looking at Chuck on the east side?
The east side of the river,
East side of the river.
yeah,
So Apple River, it looks like it would have to be Apple River Campground there, yeah.
you know, but is that an area that could be guided towards residential as opposed
For
to?
the future, you mean?
Yeah. That was just the one thought I had, but
Because as it is right now, if they wanted to develop as residential, as our color indicates now, would they have to then get a zoning change?
They would have to amend the future land use map.
Which isn't a big deal.
They would have to request to amend the map, but it's not a big deal.
it isn't a big deal, but, you know, somebody purchasing that land would say, this is what you want.
So then residential slash recreational slash commercial use, Salmon could just add the word residential? Would that help? Would that solve the problem?
Well, I don't, it's not a problem. It's just, I just pointing out that I think on the old future land use plan, that was guided towards
I think it was.
Residential.
residential.
I
Yeah.
can check.
And again, that's, you know, just one guy's opinion, that
What do you
maybe residential would be more appropriate on that side of the river. But you know the area better and the community better than I.
Even the concert site, I think eventually is gonna be owned. Maybe some commercials on the west side of it. Or I'm sorry, what's that?
They just added $5 million and they're adding another couple million right now, so I don't see any homes going anytime soon.
The amphitheater?
Yeah.
So we can't get around the village for another 10 years.
Exactly, yeah. Isn't it fun?
Hey, you got a bridge now.
Yeah, we got a bridge.
No, we always had a bridge, it's just
Like,
not
yeah,
used for a little
you
bit.
Can't get through town, whatever.
I got the old map.
I just shut off my computer. So there's no wrong answer. I think it could be either way and it always can be amended after the fact. But
Yeah, but if you put that in, you know, we're thinking 20 years ahead with this plan, you know, is it better? Okay. No, it was guided as commercial in the old plan.
oh, it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it was guided as just regular commercial, so it was guided the same as, you know, along Highway 35 and everything, so I think we thought it would be better to maybe break that out. So since it has, what do we describe it as? Recreational, commercial. Primary intent of this classification is to identify areas which provide private recreational activities through commercial businesses. As mapped, RC areas include fishing, sports clubs, campgrounds, golf courses, amphitheater, and other recreational facilities. That's about it. But yeah, the old one from 2018 has it all. Regular, general, commercial.
And, you know, and maybe the lower areas along the river aren't conducive to residential.
Right, I mean,
They
we don't have
probably
to keep it
couldn't.
as large as it is, you know, we could, if we think there's gonna be some housing or something else, and we can shrink this salmon area down, absolutely. If you guys feel that this is too large of an area.
My property up here up on Highway 35 is shown as general commercial. It's actually industrial. I don't know how technical you wanna get.
No, that's fine.
I can't find it. This,
These ones, oh, sorry.
yes, these are all, this is all industrial.
Okay.
That was the,
Oh, I see it on the zoning map,
you see
yeah,
the zoning map there?
yeah,
So that's all, they all have a conditional, the highway commercial is conditional use, but it's
But they're
technically
true.
industrial.
well, so then it would make sense to guide them that way rather than having something
That was
CUP'd
the,
in.
that was the first
Yeah,
TIF district, I believe. One,
thank you.
can I ask one other thing?
Yeah, of course.
Can we get a picture of our own bridge?
Oh.
Yeah, I know that one, I know,
The other one is the river. You're not gonna know if it's the apple, the plum, or the
Yeah.
potato.
I agree.
We have a bridge.
Let's
we
use
could-
that, yeah.
Perfect.
Can
Or
you
actually, just try to utilize
You sent
local
pictures,
pictures,
Mark,
people are, yeah, that would just be
Yeah.
smart.
We must have pictures of it.
Utilize
I'm sure we
local
do.
pictures, yeah. Yeah.
Anything else?
I think that was really the things I wanted to touch on and get feedback and got some great feedback. Is there anything else you guys have on this for me?
I don't think so, Claire.
Okay, so I think the next step is to bring everything that we've brought to you in pieces in a final draft for review. And actually, we were talking as a team and with Chuck a little bit here that it might be better to do that in a special meeting rather than as part of your regular agenda. Your agendas are a little busy and full sometimes, and so if there's another night, you guys would be willing to meet, so we can kind of do it more in a workshop setting, because that's kind of the final time for edits, comments, and so that we take notes best we can to make sure we're getting what you guys are feeding back to us, but before it goes to public hearing and it's locked in, I just want to make sure you guys have the opportunity to do that.
That would be great, I think. And Claire, is it possible that we get everything 3-4 weeks in advance?
Yeah.
Have time to really kind of dig in and go through it.
Absolutely, yeah, we certainly can do that.
And
So,
then if we have any edits or anything, we can discuss those before we schedule that final meeting.
yeah, yeah,
That
sounds
right,
fine.
me too.
Yeah, I guess the sooner you can get it to us, the better, and then we schedule a meeting after we.
How do we feel about getting everything together and then having it for your regular October meeting? But that's not the like for any, you know, I can get the stuff, but it's more so if you have last comments and things before a final draft workshop meeting, that'd be a great time to have them. Does that make
So you're
sense?
saying get it into the regular October meeting for
Like I can-
reviews and then,
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. I can join virtually because I'm gonna be at a conference up in St. Cloud, but it would kind of be though, you can be like, okay, there are these things, and then it's really that final draft, special
Possible approval
meeting,
in the
workshop, and then
November
we can.
meeting or
Yeah,
special meeting in
It's
November.
a 30-day public hearing notice for the state law, so it's a little longer of a process to get it noticed, but
Makes
that's
sense.
kind of, I think that could work well.
So we would discuss it, get our questions together.
Yeah, and I can be on virtual if you have a lot of stuff, or Bob can send me all of your comments.
So then Claire, would it go to the planning commission first as a draft? We look it over and then send it to the full board or
Where's your
as
goal?
kind of a draft
October.
and then get a special meeting
Either,
30 days out from now?
I think maybe it's, there were quite a bit of comments today and some stuff on the maps that we'll wanna finalize. Have it ready for you all to, in time for your October 4th meeting. Is the 4th? Yeah, something like that. But maybe it's the 5th. I think it's the 5th.
Well, I think that'll be a draft document that could be shared with the board as well, right?
Right, I mean, the board could certainly look
Get
at
them
it.
looking at it, with some light.
Maybe that wouldn't hurt to make sure there's no, oh my gosh, this is
What's
totally
planning
not
doing,
in line
yeah.
what we're doing.
If we're spending all this time and money and effort,
Right.
we want it to be.
Right, or I mean, if you wanted to do it as a joint work session with the board, when we're going through the final draft, you certainly could.
I would be in favor of that.
In what?
Do a work session between the planning commission and the full board.
So that when it goes to the board, they're not
So
like,
then-
what the heck is this document?
Okay,
Yeah, and you don't have to have 2 meetings about it.
Right, right,
yeah.
And everybody's bouncing ideas and
right,
different things together, and that way, whatever we come out with should be approved at the regular meeting.
with the public hearing, yeah. And then, well, public hearing can be at plan commission and then goes to the board, yeah.
Does everybody else like that idea? Work session with the full board?
That's good to me.
Is there so that work session, you're envisioning,
Sometime before October 4th.
no, it would be after October 4th, but would it be still in October, I guess is the question.
Yeah,
We could do it the following week, as it'd be a special meeting.
I mean,
yeah.
if that's, maybe you wanna tentatively set a date,
Yeah.
then
That's what I'm
notify the
thinking.
board next week.
And the following week after the October 4th meeting makes sense, because it's still kind of fresh.
I agree.
So the
Right.
12th,
The 12th.
Yeah.
What,
Well,
now,
so
are
it'd
we
be-
sure that the 4th is,
Oh, so
It's the
October
fifth.
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 Is a Thursday.
yeah, so 5 and 12.
12, you're right, you just.
The 12th.
Yeah.
October 12th.
You have blind squirrel.
For a special meeting slash joint work session.
The 12th.
Special meeting on the 12th.
Somebody can email that out, right?
Yeah.
I can't make that, I have knee replacement surgery on the 10th.
So should,
I don't have, there are plenty of other people here.
Just don't take your pain medication that day.
Yeah.
No, do take it and get here.
I don't even require it back.
You're present.
Carry me in, carry me out.
Zoom.
Yeah.
But I will review it and if I have any.
Yeah.
Anything, I'll let somebody know.
Yeah, I'll send updates based on today and any others that came out of the other meetings for your October 4th meeting, just.
Fifth.
Sorry, I'll join virtually in case there's anything you need me for, but, and then I'll be here, we'll do the joint work session that next week, to hopefully get consensus, get it finalized, and work on getting a public hearing notice. Great. Okay, that works for me.
Right.
Thank you, Claire.
guys. Thank you.
So this is kind of going back to where we were at before, but Bob emailed us basically saying we don't have a zoning administrator to go and make sure that like things get done the way they're supposed to get done. And
What you brought. We don't have a
so we don't have the zoning, but our ordinance allows for, it says, due to the size of the village of Somerset, it may not be feasible to find a suitable person willing to take on the responsibility of being a zoning administrator on a part-time basis. It is therefore provided that the function of the zoning administrator can be delegated to a community of the board, to another village official, or a single member of the board, or the village president. An officer other than a village board member or other employee of the village may also be designated to handle the duties of zoning administrator for part-time basis in addition to the other duties performed by such person.
Who's our building inspector?
Well, so my question is, instead of, having somebody else doing it or having to pay a building inspector more, we could make this for the planning commission, also the zoning administrator. So that way, and when it comes to us, you guys have the teeth to make sure, hey, we wanted it this way, and you guys can, us as a committee can make
So
sure it's done.
So it gets written into the conditional use permit before they can have occupancy of whatever they're building. We have
We are
to,
the zoning
at least one or more
administrator.
member has to walk
Yeah.
the property to see that they met
Yeah.
what we wanted.
There you go.
So why not just, yeah, so that should
That's
be
good.
an automatic addition to every CUP we draw.
So,
Yeah.
and I think we could put it on next month's agenda to, or actually probably just the village board agenda to make the planning commission
Yeah, it
also
wouldn't be our
the zoning-
decision to make.
the zoning administrator. Does that make sense? Is that, everybody okay with that?
Yes.
My only concern is not everybody, over the years, I'm not pointing anybody out, on the planning commission does their homework, spends their time to look at.
And not everybody would have to, but
Yeah.
it would just take a vote of, yeah, I approve it for occupancy based off of this, or, based off of these pictures we've seen, or these people complaining about this, or this, we're not going to.
How are we gonna be notified that they're at
Completion is
that,
almost, yeah.
they're at that point where somebody needs to,
That would be up to Tony, the building inspector, to say, hey, I'm not going to allow occupancy until you guys sign off on it as building or zoning administrators.
and then we can get we could get emailed that individual,
Yes, sir.
conditional use permit.
And then any one or more of us go on a specific date, time, and
And it could be all of us, doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Could be all of us,
I
could
don't
be
know about
one or two,
Cause I
could be-
would want to have someone.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Are you guys,
Yeah.
in favor of
Child.
of
That's a
doing
good
that?
idea.
Just keep. That's
Yeah.
good.
Can,
I think it's a good
can you
idea.
put that on the full village board agenda then?
So I'm assuming you're a complaint-based city, right? So what happens when somebody complains about something? Is the planning commission gonna take that on then?
Yes.
that's the problem with having bite on something, is who's gonna be the buck stops here person? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, cause, people will have complaints, they'll bring them forward and then, if you're the zoning administrator,
Oh, you mean, oh, I see what you're saying, so after we
like
sign off
so-and-so's got
saying
a
they
bunch of
can
stuff in
go.
the.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to say either they are meeting their conditional uses,
Or they're
or
not.
they're not, and then we need to.
I think it's the staff, they
Yeah,
inform
the
us, we
oversight.
inform you guys, and away we go.
Cause otherwise, we could say whatever we want, put whatever conditions, and if there's no teeth to it or no follow-up, what are we doing? We're just wasting our time. This way,
Why
it's
even
some
have
checks and
CUPs
balances.
if they don't have to follow?
I agree.
You guys all good with that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get that on the agenda. All right, let's go, now we're back to 7A, discussion, possible
Thank you.
recommendation. Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you, Claire, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Discussion, possible recommendation to rezone the Growing Winds parcel 181-4142-00-000 and 181-141-43-00-010 from agricultural zoning or A1 zoning district to residential R3 district. We've definitely been,
They've come before us numerous times, and we love the idea, right?
Love it.
This is just something that has to happen, right?
Yeah, that's what Bob said earlier, right?
I recommend
We-
approval,
Yeah, we start with the rezoning, and then from there.
Yep.
I recommend approval of the rezoned parcel.
make a motion,
I make a motion.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, discussion, possible recommendation, extra territorial CSM review of parcel 032-2034-90-100. Do I need to read all the sections and part of the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter of section 9 The township 30 north, R 19 west, town of Somerset, county of St. Croix, Wisconsin. And that is, which one is that? Is that?
That's the one talking. 50th Street.
Okay, Charles and Gladys Hanson. 1670 50th Street, Somerset.
Nope, I think, nope, the 53317
170th?
is B.
They're right next to each other.
Oh, that's why we do it. That's why we look. Let's see, I just read it.
Geographically.
Oh, Dan and Julie Johnson. Yeah, I got it.
Oh, okay, literally right in front of me. So this one, it's not the 50th Street, it's 533 170th Avenue, Somerset, Dan and Julie Johnson. And it looks like they're trying to go from one lot into 2 lots. Where's lot 1? I used to live at this address, I'm kind of familiar with it, but where's lot 1?
One is. Lot 1 is lot 2 and 3.
Oh,
Oh, so now they're
So-
splitting it.
okay.
Lose lot 1 and have lot 2 and 3. So is that pretty typical, or would they go lot 1 goes to lot 1 and 2?
No, like growing wings, we have lot 1, which is all of the rest of our territory, our land, and then we had 2, 3, and 4. Because it came out of it, so lot 1 now is the remaining village owned land, and then we created 2, 3, and 4.
but there still is a lot 1. This seems like it's gonna be weird, because when this happens,
Yeah.
there will no longer be a lot 1.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
Is that normal?
Well, eventually there won't be a lot 1 out of our TID 5,
Oh, all right.
so that makes sense.
So there's different ways of doing it.
Right.
What you're saying.
So it is typical.
It just doesn't confuse, because there's a lot 1 that exists prior.
Yeah,
Now you're gonna have a different meets and bounds and legal description, again, for lot 1, and it's gonna get confusing. Especially the register of deeds say, we already have lot 1 now.
yeah,
And it's gonna
got it.
throw a lot of confusion when we come to,
Because the history doesn't get
There's-
thrown out when the new one gets written. So yes, that's good.
Is this within our land use?
no,
It isn't. So
No, this is,
is outside of it.
there's not a
Across
lot,
the
there's not a
board.
lot of concern of ours
No.
if it's outside of our land use. I make a motion to accept the.
Josh, like second.
discussion,
Wait, he's gotta read all that.
we already read it. Any discussion?
Also recommend.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Wow, it's
No, we have this one now.
No, now we have the other one, yeah. C, discussion possible recommendation, extraterritorial CSM review of parcel 032-2030-50-50, part of the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of section 8, T 330 north, R 19 west, town of Somerset, county of St. Croix. And this is Charles and Gladys Hanson at 1670 50th Street, Somerset, Wisconsin, 54005.
Is this within our land use?
No,
Okay, so yeah. Somebody.
And there's a lot 1 on this because it's not being redefined.
Right.
It's not being what?
It's right here, so this is a little different from the other one.
I knew you were gonna go there right away. Smart man.
Trying to
So the description
understand.
stays the same, it's the
I
addition.
almost feel bad if we don't even have really any say charging people $100 to do something that they don't need to go through.
We talked about waiving that on some of these, where it's like, wow, this is on 232nd Avenue.
Anybody, entertain a motion?
Make motion to recommend, or to, I say yay.
I'll second that.
There's been a first and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Anybody wanna make a
motion to
motion to adjourn?
Josh, like second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Out of way, Dave.
Motion, meeting ended at 7:19.